So, Aston Villa, how would you rate their summer transfer window?
Villa are an interesting one, right? Because recent years they've been a solid Europa League, even top four challenging team, but they've had a lot of issues with PSR, and they had a ruling from UEFA that meant that they couldn't spend too much this summer, essentially, and that's really meant that they've had to get creative, be flexible with their transfer decisions. And if you had asked me this August the 30th, I would have said it's been a very poor window, quite disappointing, and they've probably taken a couple of steps back. But sitting here the day after deadline day, looking at their transfers, I kind of now think they've done an amazing job under the circumstances. I actually, in a way, feel like they've improved their squad, which is impressive. Because they haven't really spent much at all. And there's because there's a couple of loans in here and things like that. But it's impressive. I think with the limitations they had, this is as good as they could have done, genuinely. And I'm not just
Okay.
like, yeah, I love some of these signings. I
Yeah.
really do.
Because before deadline day, it wasn't looking good for Villa, was it?
No, no, no. The signing they had made was Guesson, and that's the one they spent money on this summer. He's the only one they actually spent any money on. He was about 30 mil, and I'm a big fan of him. I think he really suits them as well, and I'm really interested to see what a combination with Morgan Rogers will look like, because they're both very very high level ball carriers for their positions, and I want to see what that combination will be like. I think it can allow them to get out of a lot of situations and just help them on the counter attack, help with Emery's system a lot. The other signing they had made just before deadline day was Lindelof on a free, and when I saw that, oh, they also signed a number two keeper, but Lindelof on a free. When I saw that, I'm thinking, it's probably gonna be a rough season, but just because I don't think he's the worst player in the world or anything, but he's a pretty basic centre back. I've seen, watched him for a long time as a Man U fan, and I just think coming into the window, you'd be hoping for a bit better than that. Someone who
Yeah.
can genuinely challenge Konza and Torres for their spot.
Okay, and let's quickly talk about, the infamous Jadon Sancho.
Yeah.
How do
Now,
you rate that signing?
so this that's it, right? Deadline day, Sancho and Harvey Elliott, and Sancho. I mean, I maybe I'm biased because he's genuinely one of my favorite footballers, and he has been since I first started watching him. I just think he's different. I think the things he's good at, there aren't many players that are good at them, and I think it's sometimes a bit hard to appreciate for I don't want to say the untrained eye, because he's very subtle. The things he does don't look like he's doing much, but if you judge it on what was the situation before he touched the ball and what's the team situation after, you see, oh, there's suddenly looking a lot more dangerous. We're suddenly through on goal. We're suddenly he might not have um dribble past 10 players. Okay, he might not have done anything crazy, a crazy pass, a crazy it might just be a subtle through ball at the right moment. He's what I call a wide pivot,
Mm.
you know.
He's a master of the smart pass.
He honestly, and I just think he's now got into a position where he's one of the more underrated players in football. People need to remember Chelsea tried to sign him permanently this summer. It was him that turned it down, actually. And people can have their opinions on him and the decisions he's made, but as a footballer, he's a high level player, and I think it's a signing that really suits their system as well. Because with Aston Villa, these two players aren't really wingers.
Mm.
Emery doesn't want them as wingers. They're really kind of like wide number 10s, but sometimes they need to work quite hard, so more like wide midfielders. But it suits him because that's where his qualities get to shine. And Harvey Elliott, bit different. But when he is on the right, he's a very similar player in terms of he's not, his game's not about his pace. It's about touches in the inside, whether it's a pass or he can dribble as well.
Mm.
He is a bit more like, a special moment of quality in terms of a passing
Yeah.
and shooting and things like that. But yeah, another top young player who hasn't really had that opportunity as a
Mm.
starter in the Premier.
Also, I just want to say, so I see you've put Garcia as the right back.
Yes,
We haven't seen too much of him in Aston Villa shirt. Uh, Obviously, Matty Cash is their usual starting right back. Give us your reasoning behind that.
Matty Cash is a decent player. He's a solid Premier League player, but I think he's someone that you want to do a bit better than when you're really pushing on at the top end of the league. He's got his limitations, and I think with Andres Garcia, he's someone who is young. They only signed him in January, and he wasn't actually playing in La Liga. He was actually playing in the Spanish second division when they signed him. So it's a big step up to the Premier League. But I see the ability in him. I see someone who on the ball as a right back could offer so much to this team. Very good delivery from out wide, whether that's passing, crossing, solid 1v1. Seems like an intelligent player. And I just think him and Matson, both of them, because Matson, he wasn't a regular in the Prem last season, but he's a top talent at left back as well, in my opinion. I think when you've got those two in the team, they just open up so much more in terms of progressing the ball up from out wide. And I think it's very important when you have wide players like this to
Mm.
get them players that will overlap, right? These two will overlap. They'll also be able to pass from deep. And I just think it opens up a lot of variety. When you have people like Elliot and Sancho, they're players you can pass the ball early and wide. They will keep hold of the ball, play the right pass, right? And it allows a guy like Matson to either overlap past Sancho or underlap, right? And I think you can get that from Garcia and Matson. They'll
Mm.
be very dangerous. And I think this is a very threatening team. Good midfield, good options in the attack. I think this could be the best version of Aston Villa we've seen yet. I really do.
Okay, okay. Okay. So where do you think, everything goes to plan with this 11? Where do you think they can finish this season?
That's the question, the big question. I think for me, I look at this and if Emery gets the rotation right, because obviously they're in Europa League, Emery's always been an expert in that competition, and I think the club would love to win something like that. So they'll probably take that very seriously. I think they can win that, and I think that might mean in the league maybe they don't have enough to sustain a top four challenge. I actually don't see them as top four contenders, even despite all the quality I see. I mean, maybe slight outsiders, but I do still think one injury at centre back and they're not that strong. Even Cons and Torres, they're good, but they're not as good as the other defenses above them and around them in the league, in my opinion. I like Onana and Tielemans, and they've got good depth with Kamara and Barkley, but it's getting that rotation right. As I said, I really want to see Rogers and Wesson together, but obviously Watkins been there, done that, tried and tested striker. You've got Marlon, McGinn, different options if you want to,
Yeah.
if you want to mix things up. So a lot of variety. I would say that it should be aiming for top six and to win the Europa League. Winning the Europa League would be a huge achievement for the club. Obviously, qualify them for Champions League next season as well. That might be their best route into the Champions League. And yeah, they've got the depth for it. They have got the depth for it. So it's going to be a lot about where, especially in the second half of the season, Emery's put in his priorities. Where's he put in the eggs in that basket?
Okay.